Welcome back to another episode. Are you doing this, JoJo? Are you doing it?
No,
I'm doing it. I'm driving the topics. You doing it? You doing the intro?
Who's doing the intro?
I'm
I want to hear your
man.
intro. Okay.
You trying to steal my job?
I'll be the hype guy. Okay. I'm gonna put my
Listen.
Gabe's looking for a promotion.
I've done every single intro. Gabe, I don't know. You probably had a little shot or two on the side. You think you could do the intros tonight? I know you're excited. We got a lot going on.
Those 23 flavors got him jumping.
I got you going crazy right now. It was back to my little intro. I was really interrupted. Real Fans Podcast. We're back, episode 16. We back out here. We're live again. What it do? What's good, y'all?
What's up?
Yo,
What's up?
Lots going on in the sports world. See, this is my part now. This is where I shine. Okay.
Yeah. Do you think?
Lots going on in the sports world. We're gonna cover all sports going on: football, baseball, college, everything. But we're gonna start first with the UFC fight. This last fight was UFC 60 this past Saturday. There's three main fights that we wanted to just cover and talk about. We went out. Me and Julian went out to go watch the fights at a popular drinking establishment while JoJo was out somewhere in Wynwood doing whatever. But yeah, let's talk about the fights. This first one that we had was O'Malley Almeida, right? The Brazilian. It was O'Malley versus Brazilian. And tell me about Julian. If you just tell me a little bit about O'Malley and why he needed to get this fight.
Well, O'Malley is a self-proclaimed undefeated guy. He's 13-0, really, because he doesn't count his last loss. He's really 12-1. But the one thing I've always been a big O'Malley. Well, he has like this huge like internet presence. Like he's like big in like Twitch and he's big on YouTube. He has like a big podcast. He's kind of made a name for himself, and he's a super electric fighter, man. That guy, he is fast paced. He is quick and he's got power. He's 5'11", fighting at 135, which I mean, he has huge advantage over a lot of guys. So he walks at like 155, 150. I was actually just watching a post-fight interview and he was talking about that. And yeah, man, I mean, he came out, I think he's up there for a title shot. Like he definitely has earned it. He's done nothing but just knock people out except his last fight, obviously. But his whole track record leading up to this was just, I mean, he's been bruising people, man. He's been going hard. And then the fight was he just kind of dominated his whole fight, and then that one hit, and then he just fucking rocked that guy. And
And this Almeida guy, he was relatively new to UFC, right? He didn't really have a long track record. I think
he was like 10th. He was like 10th seed, I think. He was like ranked 10 in the bantam.
So he wasn't a huge guy. Obviously, he was kind of a stand-up fighter. From what I remember from the fight, obviously we'll just go round by round. What I remember from the fight in general was this: O'Malley was too dominant. Like O'Malley was bouncing around. He was doing like these feint punches where he'd like throw her hand to try to distract him and then come up with a quick right. And he was just dominating the whole fight. Like it wasn't even like the Almeida guy. He was just kind of standing up, and he really wasn't moving.
He didn't stand a chance.
He wasn't moving too much. Like his head was like staying still. You know, sometimes you get fighters and they'll bounce around, try to give you a different target or something. This guy was just like standing up, and he's like, I'm just going to brawl and I'm going to throw these punches, and that's how we're going to fight. And O'Malley was just bouncing around. He was looking like, like fucking Anderson Silva. He was looking like John Bones Jones. He was just bouncing around, doing whatever he wanted, and the whole fight dominated.
Yeah. He loves the walk-off knockouts too, which he almost did in the first round. He hit him with a right hook, and then like the dude just dropped. But the ref gave him a little bit.
He fell straight back on his ass. He hit him on top of his head, JoJo, and he fell straight back on the cage. I'm like, oh man, this is over. Like there's no way this guy survives. And somehow,
and he should have attacked. If he would have attacked, like you know how like normally when you see people get rocked, like you see people like the fighter immediately goes after him, tries to finish him. He just didn't do it on that run, because he loves the walk off. Like he loves just like hitting him with that one and just
showboats it, right. He showboats it.
And I mean, he's done it before. He's done it before, but it's like you got to end it there. And I'm like, shit, like
you can't give him a chance to fight. You know what I mean? That could be it right there.
I mean, didn't we see that recently, Gabe? What fight did we watch recently that was like that? I can't think of it at the top of my head.
The week before, I forget the other fight that we saw.
Well, I could think personally back, that McGregor fight. I don't know if you guys remember that. He had him.
That's what it was. That's what I was thinking of.
He didn't finish it, and then look what happened. Look what happened. He ended up getting knocked out himself because he didn't finish it.
Yeah,
he had him in the first round, wobbly. You know what I mean?
So
Caught
that
him
was
with
it
a
for round one. I gave the fight to O'Malley. He dominated the whole time. My notes from round two is just O'Malley dominates again, setting the pace, pushing the fight. He's playing with his food. Almeida throwing too many few punches, and all his kicks are missing. His head is a baseball tee for O'Malley. That was my notes for round two. So it was like much more of the same. I mean, I didn't see any really fight or any kind of chance of like, oh wait, this guy might turn it around. Or
it was just dominance from the striking level. Like the guy is unreal. He's just too fast and he has too good of a reach, and he didn't stand a chance, man. He just didn't.
Yeah. And then finally in round three, Julian already said it. O'Malley stuns Almeida. He stumbles and O'Malley brings down the hammer, and finally he clearly knocks him out this time, and he just totally dominated the fight. And that was pretty much, I guess, Julian, did you kind of expect O'Malley to like just dominate the fight? Or
yeah,
like,
I mean,
I expect him to do.
I expected a knockout. I mean, the guy he's been unreal. Like I said, except for his last fight, but for the most part, I mean, the guy, he's an elite striker. His speed and his range and his power too is just, it's one of the best in the division, and he's gonna be pushing for a title shot. I'm telling you, the dude's that good. He's nasty, and he's a big name in the UFC. They like that.
I think the only thing that was upsetting about this fight is that he didn't knock him out earlier enough. Like I said, there was.
Oh man, it would have been nasty if he hit him with that walk off. Like there's nothing more. Just like if he just went, that would have been dirty.
So that was the first fight. That was our first knockout of the night. Obviously,
mind you, almost every fight this whole main card, even the fights before this that we were watching, like were all knockouts. Like this whole card, it was the earliest I went home after a fight.
Yeah, it started right at 12. Like we're already like
we got out at like 12:15. It was like the earliest, like because there's just so many knockouts, and then there was only one championship fight, which was the main card. Because lately the past two, the past two cards have just been like 3 title fights, 2 title fights. This one just had that one, so and they were all knockouts. So then,
the second fight, probably the quickest fight of the night, we had Willie against Luque.
The ghost of Tyrod Woodley. The ghost.
Yo, tell me he made the return that he needed to do.
The ghost of Tyrod Woodley.
He returned back to the grave.
He rose for a second, but then he was like, I got to go back.
Damn.
He got his ass rocked.
Damn.
Rocked.
Pretty much the notes I had that I wrote down. Yeah, the most I had down because I was trying to be, more efficient. Because people say, I'm not a good UFC. Sometimes I'm just drinking, man. I'm just watching the fights. I'm just entertained. I don't write down notes. So this time I wrote down fucking notes. All right. Willie got stunned, leaning against the cage. He got tapped up and couldn't recover. Like this guy, he was wobbly, man.
Was that the first? Was that the first hit when he was just was that round one?
Yeah,
right?
yeah. He was leaning against the cage. Remember?
He was wobbling.
He couldn't stand up.
His
weight was on the cage. He could not stand straight up. He could not hold 90 degrees.
This guy was wobbling for his life. Like I was surprised that he was standing for as long as he did. Like, I mean, he was wobbling for like 30 seconds, and he just managed to. There was a point where this man just sprinted to the other side. Like he was just.
Bro, have you seen the movie?
I don't know how they didn't end it. I don't know how that
have y'all ever seen the movie Weekend at Bernie's? Where it's like a dead guy when you play music. That's what he looked like. He was leaning against a cage like this, like just kind of holding his hands up.
The ghost of Tyrod Woodley.
It was bad. So I was like, it was ugly.
At least his hands were up.
Yeah. So he ended up mounting him, and Woodley taps out. Probably the last time we see Woodley in the UFC. Kind of a mood killer this fight. 4
straight losses from having the belt to being the champ to losing it all in like the course of 2 years.
Yeah.
I mean,
but he's older, right? He's like 36 or something.
He's older, but I think it's also one of those things like the famous boxing quote where it's like you have a hard time getting up at 5 a.m. when you're sleeping in silk sheets. Like I think it's one of those, and there's just so many people that are just hungrier, and he just it's been bad, dude. He's gotten knocked out, I think, every fight.
It didn't look good,
it's not even like he's like losing. Well, all right, this past fight he got tapped out from a Darce choke, but like the dude was knocked out. He basically fell to the ground and then he choked him out.
Yo, when he came out of there, I could see his breathing like he was like he was underwater for like 10 minutes. I could see him breathing, trying to catch air after he was getting choked out.
Bro, his eyes were just like it was like he had dead eye. Like
man. It was bad.
It was embarrassing. It was
the ghost of Tyrod.
God. And man, he was so good. Like I remember seeing his come up and just being so dominant. Like, cause the guy, he's like, he has the like He's a freak too. He's one of those. He's like a Usman and like a Ngannou, where he's just like a physical
He's
freak.
very cut, but I don't. I think.
And
he was a
world class wrestler, but I think he just slowed down, and I don't know. It was something that just I don't know what happened. It's just something like after that Usman. I think he still rocked from that fucking Usman fight.
Yeah.
Like
he didn't look very fast throwing his punches. Like he might be strong, but he didn't look very fast, very agile. Like so once he got tapped up and he was leaning against that wall, I was like, oh man, this is over. Over. He just, I was expecting knockout, but
on his training or conditioning. It could be any one of those reasons. Something's changed in his life that
we're and he's just older.
He got hit too much, man. Too much fight.
Sometimes you just know, right?
He's got to go, man. It's like Anderson Silva. Like Anderson Silva kept on going for fucking 6 years.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, just stop, man. Because ever since Anderson Silva got his fucking shin snapped and he came back with a peg leg, like he hasn't been the same. And Anderson Silva is one of those. He just loved fighting too much. He just couldn't stop, and it's hurt his legacy to where now it's at the point where John Jones is the greatest of all time. When at one point Anderson Silva was. Yeah. I think he just and Tyrell Woodley, if he keeps on doing it, man, he's going to be the same way.
All those fighters do it, man. I remember, Rampage, Chuck Liddell, they all fight a little too long. Like they go like 1 or 2 matches too long.
Tito Ortiz,
they always go extra. I'm like, man, I should have.
This is why your boy Khabib retired on top, and he felt like he did what he had to do. And who else was there to face? Like you say, ran to the division, one of the greatest, and he knew his time, right? I mean, he could have kept going,
and that's very rare in the fighting world. Like usually it's one of like Mayweather's one of those people that come to mind. Granted, he ran from a lot of people, but like there's not many fighters end on top. Like they keep on going, and then it just downhill from there.
Yeah.
So that was the second fight that we're looking forward to. But obviously the main event, UFC 60.
Big one.
Was Stipe Miocic versus Francis Ngannou. It's a title fight. Obviously Stipe holding the belt. And I remember telling, because I haven't seen a lot of Ngannou fights, but I remember telling you, I was like, yo, if this was a picture, if the belt was like a picture match, we just took a picture of people, I was like, Ngannou wins this. He's just intimidating, man. Like physically, like taller. You know what I mean? He's what, 6? I think we said 6'6" or 6'5".
Oh, his whole demeanor, bro. He's out there ready to lay it all on line.
He's motivated.
He's ready to die, bro. He's ready to die.
It's that immigrant mentality. It's just like that. Yeah. He's just like he'll do it all, man.
And that's not saying anything on Stipe. Stipe, looks pretty good too, but it's just the guy is like he's just overbearing. Like you know what I mean? When he walks in, like you can only notice him. It's like Shaq walking in a room or something. Like you have to notice him because he's fucking ripped.
He made Stipe, which is probably the greatest heavyweight ever in the UFC, look like a child. Like the way he just manhandled them that whole fight. You would have never thought that they fought before and Stipe won. Like you would have never thought. And Ngannou came in here a different man. He learned from his 2 losses against Stipe and Derek Lewis, and he came in here and he dominated like from the jump. He even out wrestled Stipe, and Stipe is a Division II like wrestler, and like Stipe is a world class wrestler. He even beat Ngannou in wrestling, but Ngannou, he stepped up his wrestling because he was known as a striker, because obviously the world record for the hardest punch. And he stepped up as a striker. Stipe went in, and I remember specifically this move right here was like, Ngannou is going to win this. Like as soon as I saw this move, Stipe went for the double leg. Ngannou sprawled perfectly, and then rotated, got behind him, picked him up, and threw him down to the ground and started pounding him. I was like, that moment right there was like, that was the one thing Stipe had over him. And he just made him look like a junior high fucking wrestler wrestling a Division I. Like that moment,
spin.
That moment there was like, holy shit. Because Stipe's no joke. And the fact that he did that to him was like, it's over. Like, it's over. Yeah. Like
that was my notes from the first round. And Ngannou gets a nice clutch. They clutched up, and he did like a great wrestling move where he like threw his hips to the side next to him, and he got behind him. So like, before Stipe was attacking, but then when Ngannou countered, I was like, oh shit, like that was the turnaround moment. Then I put a nice couple punches against the cage, lands a big left foot to Stipe's face. Ngannou throws the pace. and Ngannou was like cornering. He was, you know how boxers they corner when boxers try to move and they like step in a way to get him.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like Ngannou was like controlling the fight in that way, like when they're trying to stand up, not in the clutch. But he did a great job, and I gave the round to Ngannou. And I was like, Stipe needs to wake up and push the fight because Ngannou was bringing him to that first round.
It wasn't even close, dude. It wasn't even close.
And then we go to round 2. This is my next tweet. It says it's over. Straight right from Ngannou, really fucked up Stipe.
Over.
Stipe couldn't recover, folded backwards, and I think he like landed on his leg.
Dude looked like he tore his ACL. He looked like he tore his ACL. He fucking fell back, and his left knee just like you ever see somebody fall backwards and their knee gets like super stretched,
all over your leg.
It was bad, dude. He knocked the fucking dog shit out of him. It was.
And then my last tweet was Ngannou lands an extra hammer fist for the road. Ngannou's the new champ. So I think this is overall like domination by Ngannou, but I think people. I mean, what did you expect, Julian, coming into this? Like, did you think Ngannou was going to be a fair, like equal?
I thought it was going to be close. I really did. I mean, obviously Ngannou came in here being the favorite, but I was like, man, this is Stipe. I mean, he's already beat him. I just didn't think it'd be a clinic like fucking Ngannou. Like I didn't like. I thought there was a possibility it was any man's fight for sure. I thought maybe Ngannou had the edge because I felt like he was coming in as a different man, and like also Stipe's fought Daniel Cormier 3 times in a row before that.
Move coming into that, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And I was just like, I don't know. But like the way that fight ended up, I did not expect it to just be a fucking clinic, like on all levels, striking, wrestling, takedown. Like it was unreal. It was extremely impressive, and I don't see how anybody gets close to beating him. Like, and it's funny too because I'm like, John Jones is watching this shit and he's like, fuck that. He's like, because Stipe is bigger than John Jones, and Ngannou looked like a grown man compared to Stipe, and
Ngannou would use fucking Bones Jones as a toothpick. That's the size difference they have.
I mean, look, and that's right. Like you said, like Ngannou's looking like his best self. That's what you want these fighters to come in every fight as their best self. Unfortunately, some of these dudes have bad nights.
And John Jones is historically for not kind of known for like not wanting to show up at all times and fight at 100%.
Yeah.
And also, I remember I think his toes were taped up. So Ngannou had like I think his right foot, his toes were taped up. I'm like, oh man, that might not be good because if you got to plant a punch or if you're doing kicks and stuff, like that's gonna affect you fighting. But I mean, he easily clearly won the fight. So I mean, big ups to Ngannou. I was gonna ask you who's next, but it seems like the only 2 names that I'm hearing are John Bone Jones and who's the other one? Julian?
Derek Lewis. Because Derek Lewis already beat him. Derek Lewis is on a streak. He just beat Curtis Blades. So the only to me, I think the true contender is Derek Lewis. But I think they want the Bones Jones.
That's the money
fight. That's the money fight. The enthusiast fight is Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis has earned it. He's beaten him. He hasn't lost. Like he earned. Like he deserves that fight. That might happen. Like right now, like apparently what just came out was UFC approached John Jones. They said John Jones 10 million, and he was like, "That ain't it, chief." Like he was he's like, apparently like UFC lawyer hit up John Jones. He was like, 10 million, and he's like, that's too low, and that was the last thing. John Jones said that was the last he's heard of it.
He tweeted. I think he tweeted that night. He's like, "Show me the money." I think he put on Twitter.
Was that to go against Ngannou or just
Ngannou? To go against Ngannou. No, because John Jones, he's already said that he's done with light heavyweight. If he's gonna risk his legacy going against his top contender, of course he's gonna want more money than that. 10 million guaranteed. Oh yeah, he's gonna get his shit. Because the thing is, John Jones is actually gonna have to work now. John Jones, because the thing is, and that's what always bothered me with John Jones is like he's so much better than what his previous fights have shown. Because he's like, there's some fights where you just look at him like. Well, first off, him versus Gustafsson was one of the best fights I've ever watched. One, that is. And a lot of people think that he didn't come in there really on his best. I think he had like short notice. I don't remember the story of what that was. It's been a while now. But people said he didn't come into his best. The most recent fight he had with Dominic Reyes, a lot of people said that he didn't really come into his best. He just barely won that. I think he even lost it. I think the only reason why he won that fight was because he was the champ. and Dominic Reyes didn't like show enough to prove that they should give it to him. But like John Jones is going to really have to step up, and I mean, there's going to be a huge size advantage. I think John Jones might be taller, but the muscle, like the dude, like fucking Ngannou's walking at 250,
He's gonna wrestle.
and he looks
try
like
to wrestle.
like
No,
Ngannou's
he's
walking at 250, and he looks like 12% body fat,
No.
like 10%. Like he at 250, like John Jones probably walks at like 225, 230. Like I don't see how he's like, yeah, I mean, you better give him a fucking paycheck. And granted, they are going to make a shit ton of money. And I think 10 million might be a little like low, especially this is John Jones. John Jones and McGregor are your two biggest draws to the UFC. So like, but yeah, I'm curious to see if it happens. I think if it doesn't happen soon, they're going to give it to Derek Lewis. But I think the only way this John Jones thing happens is if they come up with a deal, which it looks like UFC is going to want to. Yeah. But man, I don't know. John Jones hasn't fought in a while now, too. It's been a good bit now. Been over a year. So we'll see, man.
We shall see. At the next UFC, we'll keep keep you abreast of all the news coming out the UFC. But I want to talk about today because today is MLB opening day. Everybody, congratulations! We're finally here. You never know when it's opening day in the MLB. It's officially spring.
The best
officially spring
in the world.
Yeah,
guys.
it's officially spring when baseball starts.
Bro. Listen, man, growing up in New York, it's cold. You're waiting. It feels like 12 months. That cold winter. Baseball starts. The weather gets a little better, and there's nothing better than Yankees season opener.
So first,
you
before we
mean
get into
the Mets?
Yankees, my God.
I thought you said you grew up going to the Mets games.
Yeah, there was.
You used to take the train to Flushing. You used to go take a train.
They'll bring you on school trips, to see the Mets
school trips
because the tickets were so cheap, bro. We weren't blessed enough to get free tickets to the Yankees.
I thought the Mets do well though, don't they? Up there,
in terms of what attendance or
attendance, don't they do well?
Fair enough. Yeah, there are plenty of Mets fans out there in the city. Obviously with like 8 million plus people. Their games are they're pretty full.
I was gonna say because usually with them playing the Marlins, I want to say like they don't do. I don't think they're good as the Yankees, but I think they do pretty well though.
Compared, to where the Marlins attendance were. The Mets, like I said, it's still a pretty popular team in New York. Obviously, the favorites are the Yankees. More historic there, but like there are plenty of Mets fans out there. Like there are a ton. There are a lot.
So I just want to take a moment, real quick, for you and I, JoJo, to kind of just put our hands together. Applaud Julian. And Julian saw a baseball game today. Clap it up.
I don't know.
Tip my hat to you, brother.
So I actually used to watch baseball all the time, but recently, the past couple of years, I just haven't put the time. High school, I used to watch it a lot. It's just, man, I don't know. The Marlins have had a rough go these past few years. Last year looked like it was finally promising. We'll see coming into this year. They've already lost the opening day 1-0 to Tampa Bay. That's the game they're referring to that I watched. It was one of the most boring fucking games I watched. It wasn't nothing happened until a homer got hit by a Tampa Bay player. But I do want to watch some more though. Like I said, I used to watch. There's a period like I have my spurts because there's like periods where in my life where I've watched like almost every game from the Marlins, and then there's some games where I don't watch at all. Sometimes.
All I can say is, obviously, one, it's gonna be a long season, right? You got 160 games. Two, look who their first, game was against. Tampa Bay Rays, who just came out of the World Series. So I mean, 1-0, not a bad look for the Marlins. A loss is a loss, but
and especially, I was gonna say too, especially a lot of the times, like you're not part of the MLB Illuminati, like the Yankees, Red Sox, Dodgers, Giants. Like Marlins is kind of just like one of those other teams. So it's like it's one of those where it's not often that they're pretty good.
You know what I'm saying? So, and guess, you got to believe in that 5-year plan, bro. I think we're like on year 3 or 4 of that 5-year plan.
I don't know if you saw, they changed the name of the stadium.
They did. Interesting, bro.
They
and I
sold
live right
it.
down the corner from
they
there
sold
too.
Lone Depot Park. Ugly ass name, but like,
listen, man. And I was actually waiting for
but it's
this.
bringing a lot of money. Apparently, it's a lot.
I was talking about it the other day, and I was like, listen, like Marlins Park was never named, and where a lot of money comes in, and buying out the name, exactly.
The market,
and I knew it, Jeter's ownership, they're clearing house, they're changing a lot of things. I'm like, it's going to happen. Why? Because that's revenue right there, going to the organization. simply renaming, the park. So I was waiting for that, to be honest.
Damn, they missed out on the opportunity for Hard Rock Park. They missed out, man. That would have been lit. What the hell is
That's
Lone
It's too far
Depot?
south. They don't have any casinos.
Right.
I don't mean nothing.
Don't ever say that again.
Hard Rock Park.
That's trash. I'm sorry.
Hard Rock's better than Lone Depot.
Listen, all right, I agree, but you had all day to think of that, and you
honestly just came up with that. I just came up with that. I don't know, Cafe Bustelo Park.
Yo, Jojo. So,
Rock
what are you looking?
Park.
What are you looking forward to, Jojo? This season. What teams are you looking at? What do you think about the season going forward?
Listen, man. Obviously, diehard Yankee. All that good stuff, but our drought needs to end. For me right now, with the expectations, with the players we have, with the money we have, everyone we got in free agency, re-signing players, like it's a title or nothing. 100%. Like Yankees fans been waiting since 2009. I was a freshman in high school. That's the last time we won.
Damn, that sucks.
I remember skipping school, going to that parade, and that's what I personally feel like. We're set up for success, man. Last season we had 4 of the best hitters in the league. Luke Voit, home run champ. DJ LeMahieu, batting title. We had obviously, Stanton and Judge right there. And then we lacked, kind of, on our pitching. We had Cole on the mound today, our starter. We're waiting for, Severino to come back from being injured. But, we have the pieces in play for a title, not playoff run, a title. We just have to get it done. No. You know what I mean? That's my expectations for this season. I personally feel like it's going to be East Coast, West Coast, battle of the giants. It's going to be Yankees, Dodgers. I feel like it's going to make another run.
Yeah.
The Dodgers are the favorite right now coming into the season.
I think some of the top teams, obviously I'm going to be following the Marlins just because, they made a lot of roster changes, so I'm going to wait and see about who I'm going to get hyped for. But they do have a couple little players that are pretty nice. Obviously, our biggest rival is going to be like the Braves, who I expect to do well this year, going back to the playoffs, making a deep playoff run. But I think,
you know what's funny? Not to interrupt you, everyone sleeps on the Braves. Whenever you look at the power rankings and predictions on how teams are going to do,
they got a young team.
They always sleep on the Braves, and then the Braves come up either winning the division or coming second place in the division.
They got a young team. That's the thing about them. They got a pretty good team, and they're pretty young. So hopefully you can keep those pieces together and keep making runs. Because historically, that's what the Braves always do. They always make playoff runs. But they always win the pennant in the division, at least with the Marlins.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think the Braves are the favorite. They are the favorite, but I don't see them being the Braves.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm not gonna get too high for them.
We're looking for a wild card position, but isn't it expanded now? Officially,
I think it
this
should
season?
be. Yeah, the only news I saw
God.
The only news I saw in the news was they changed the baseballs actually, so they're gonna fly a few feet less than before. I guess from 375 feet they're gonna fly less, so I guess they changed how it's made. But
Why
they
would you
should.
do that?
They'll probably because they don't want to see too many home. They say they hit too many home runs.
That's what makes baseball exciting. Why do you think the late 90s era with Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa was so it was like baseball at its peak was because of the fact they were hitting home runs all the fucking time. Will McGwire beat the record? Will Barry Bonds beat the record?
So I think the biggest team I want to see this year, Jojo, I want to get your opinion. I want to see. I don't think they're going to win. Like you said, I think it's going to be LA again. Hopefully the Yankees. I do like the Yankees. But what do you think about the Padres? They're being ranked high in the power rankings. This is a team that I'm not going to be into. I just want to see what they're going to do because they seem to make a lot of moves in the offseason.
Yeah, so I was going to say, with all their offseason moves, they're definitely a team to watch, right? There's going to be, baseball, anything can happen in the playoffs. We know that. Teams are going to make a run for it. And, we're obviously going for the, 2 obvious powerhouses that, can make the run. But, Padres is 100% there. 100%. They made the right moves to set them up for success in ways I feel like, to become relevant. But now it's just to see how they play because any team could look good on paper, right? You can have the biggest names, but if they don't show out, it kind of means nothing. So they have a lot to prove, obviously, with their signings and who they have. And the game's going to speak for themselves this season. My sleeper team this year, man, obviously I was going to go with the Padres as well. But I see the Braves making a run. And I also see the Blue Jays on, and it's hard to say. It's for a Yankee fan to say that they're in our division and everything. We actually lost them today. Bro, their offense is unreal. The players they have, the thing is they're gonna struggle pitching, right? They lost their closer. They don't have too many great starters. But they were saying, maybe the offensive power would keep them in the games. We only give up we lost 3-2 today. You know what I mean? But that first 5 they have batting is pretty impressive.
That's the thing with the AL East. The AL East is probably one of the most competitive, with the Yankees, with the Red Sox, Blue Jays. That's one of the most competitive.
You got Tampa in there as well too.
Yeah.
Tampa's in there, and they just came back from a World Series. Basically off their pitching. So it's definitely a tough division, and the Blue Jays been recruiting, man, to keep up with the Yankees. Whatever Yankees, making these postseason, these offseason moves. Blue Jays, man, they're trying to get just as stacked, at least to compete offensively.
Yeah.
So
that's it.
Let me get my picks in. Let me get my picks in.
Okay, you get your picks.
What you got?
All right, so my 2 sleeper teams from the AL and the NL. Well, I don't want to say sleeper for the NL, but like one of the teams the Dodgers are the favorite, but I wouldn't say the Braves are a sleeper team, but I'm going for the Braves. And then for my AL, I'm going with the White Sox. I think the White Sox are going to be pretty good this season. They're up and coming. They're probably going to win the AL Central. Their biggest competition, and there's the Twins. So I like the White Sox. I think they're gonna do some work. They're finally going to surpass the reign in Chicago with the Cubs owning it for the past few years. And it looks like the Cubs are finally gonna fall off. But
all right, that's bold.
I like the White Sox. I think are going to win the division. And I think they can make a run against the Yankees. I think they can.
That's a Julian guarantee, ladies and gentlemen.
I mean, I think it's their turn, man. It's their turn. Like I said, Chicago's been.
He said it here first.
The Cubs lost a lot of people. They're not. I don't think they're gonna be. They're gonna be like an average team probably. But the Cubs, it's their time to own the city. Not the Cubs, the Sox.
So I want to get to the next topic. That's MLB baseball. We'll keep you abreast of all the games going on.
Let's go.
I just wanted to bring up a topic real quick because we talked about it last time. Was LaMarcus Aldridge signing to the Nets because he got that buyout and he was a free agent. He's like, oh, he's gonna expect, and people were expecting him to go to the Heat, Miami Heat, but he signs with the I was gonna say New York Nets. It's the Brooklyn Nets. And Jojo, I want to get your thoughts on the super team that is in your hometown of Buffalo. I mean Brooklyn.
Listen, I know I should be a lot more excited because Brooklyn native, but I'm also a LeBron fan, so that's gonna be tough. Man, that's good for the city. It is what it is. They already got the super team. Now, again, just the last thing they can do, man, is embarrass us and not play to their full potential in the playoffs and not make it to the finals. From what I see, if they lose the finals to the Lakers, I don't think that's a complete embarrassment. I just feel like they need to get there, right? Because again, in the East, look what happened to the Bucks last season. They kind of got upset. You know what I mean? You don't want to be the best team, on that side and then lose. Let's say that, 76ers or even the Bucks for that matter with KD, Kyrie, Harden, Blake Griffin. Like, that's just ridiculous.
Well, wasn't the whole idea?
City, man, I say it's enjoy it. Enjoy it right now. Enjoy the regular season. Enjoy them beating down on these other teams the way Golden State was a few years back, and the fans were just loving it. So I say, Brooklyn's had a rough couple years back. These last 10 years have been terrible, and for the real fans that really stuck it out and, kept it going, hey, it's your time to shine and just enjoy it.
Well, I was going to say, too, wasn't the whole reason, wasn't the deal supposed to be that he was going to the Heat and then he, backed out of it or something like that? Or was that projected? Because I thought the whole thing is they came up with a deal with the Spurs to do that.
No, it wasn't like a sign and trade. He basically got bought out and he was a free agent. He was expected because he said he was going to, I think I saw in the news, he's going to go talk to different teams. But people were, thinking that they made enough space. Miami Heat made enough space to cover.
That sucks, dude. That's a huge.
But it's not bad because if you had to pick a prospect of more likely to go to the finals, who do you say, the Heat or the Nets? You know what I mean? Although I am a Heat fan, obviously the Nets are stacked. So if I wanted to, being an older guy, maybe I'm not my prime. Maybe I can still contribute. I don't have to be the number one guy. I mean, obviously, I'm gonna go to a higher prospect who somebody's gonna make it in the finals. Like,
you think they're gonna show up? You think they're gonna show up though, the Nets, or you think it's one of those?
100%, bro. Because you got to think who's really playing, bro. You got James Harden, KD, Kyrie.
Well, KD's out right now.
That's exactly these guys. They've been out because of injuries, and they're still winning.
Yeah,
dude. I feel like KD's always fucking hurt, man. I feel like he's always hurt. Like every time I look over, this man's hurt.
Hey, man, he's a 7-foot slim player. If he has any tweak in the knee or ankle,
it's like every year, man. I hear something. I almost want, like, I do. A part of me feels like, is this like he's hurt? Like, get some more like time. He's not on the court all the time.
And that's the big question, man. Because Kyrie's been out too. I know he's just had a.
And you asked me why I don't watch most of the regular season because of some shit like that. That happens a lot, man.
Well, I feel like it's happening a lot more often is modern day basketball, right? They were talking about it. How back in the day, man, you wouldn't miss a game in the season. Like you'll do what you got to do. You're not gonna take time off.
You're applauded for that. You're applauded for that. Like if you're able to.
But then again, you have to think they're making a lot more money now. So they're more valuable. And if you have something going on, you're gonna sit, right? You're an asset.
Well, and it's just a players league too. Yeah, I was gonna say too. It's just a players league. It's one of those where it's like, the coach. I almost like. Obviously, this isn't the case, but I almost feel like coaches almost have no respect, like, or get no respect, I should say. It's just one of those where it's just like, it's such a players league. It's like, all right, I'm gonna sit out this game. Like, it's just one of those. And it's just the nature of the sport too. It's just kind of how it is. It's not a super team oriented sport.
So I mean, we'll see. I mean, like I said, I expect them to go to the finals. If they fall short, it's going to be a complete failure.
Who would beat them? Who has the best chance?
It's going to be LA. I mean, if
in the East, and to stop them from the finals.
Maybe
Sixers if they show up.
Maybe the Bucks, maybe the Sixers. I don't really trust them.
If the Sixers show up, because the Sixers seem to never show up in the playoffs.
They can't get past that second round, man. It's like a little pressure they got going on.
We'll be watching more games as we get closer and closer to the playoffs. I just want to bring in real quick, just fly through it, talk about NHL. The Florida Panthers. We're on the prowl. We just came off of a 6-game losing streak, but now we're on a 3-game winning streak. Today, they're currently playing.
They're playing right now. I actually have it on, and it's 1-1.
Because it was 1-1.
Okay, still 1-1 in the second period.
So Panthers are on top of the league. I just want to bring this up to mention because JoJo, I'm trying to pin you down. I'm gonna get you recorded on the podcast. When are we going to a game? You already told me you're going on vacation. Guess what? There's other games before that. When are we going to?
We'll plan ahead. So let's see how it's a new month. See if we get something going in April. See if my schedule's free. I'll go to a game.
All right, JoJo, real quick. Like, you asked me, like, and I've always gave my reasons to why, like, I might not watch why I may not watch a lot of regular season basketball or a lot of regular season baseball. But why don't you watch hockey at all? Like, hockey is so exhilarating. It's so fun to watch. The fighting, the aggression, this 100%. And real quick, too. I will say, too, the one thing I love about hockey, even though I don't watch it that much, but I love about it, it's like you don't get that issue with the NBA where it's like people kind of play at 70, 80%. Hockey, it's like it doesn't matter what. It could be like the third game of the season out of 80 games, and they're going 100%, going hard as fuck. And I love that. I love that a lot. But go ahead.
All right. So, one, I'm not 100% against hockey. Two, it just comes down to preference. If there's a hockey game and an NBA game on, I'm going to watch the NBA game because they usually play around the same time on different channels, and I'm not going to put hockey over. Now, if there was a situation where that was the only thing on and I really want to watch a sports game, I would sit down and watch a hockey game. I wouldn't skip over it. But again, same season NBA going on. They usually play at the same time, obviously different channels, but let's see. Maybe there'll be more games available. Obviously, they have that deal with ESPN, and if I'm scrolling through, there might be more hockey on. So I guess it's also availability of the games, being able to watch besides like the local ones. So, if they have these games on ESPN or the bigger networks, I sit down and watch a game. But you know what might also help, and Gabe, kind of threw that in there, sparking the interest, is going to a live game. I feel like if I go to a live game, kind of experience it, I'd be more into it. So I'm down for that this month to check it out.
Wearing a hoodie, getting cold, and you go in there and you
It'll be dope.
Well, from the nosebleeds, it's not that cold. It's pretty normal. But once you get down lower, it's pretty dope. You know what my dream is?
So let's go check it out.
My dream is I want to go to one of the winter classics. I think that'd be fucking awesome. You know what I'm talking about, Gabe? I know. I don't know if you guys know.
What are they? Is it like where
they play outside?
Okay. Well, I've seen those games.
Where they play outside, like they'll play at like Wrigley Field or like Yankee Stadium or they play outside.
They won't be doing that now because it's springtime.
Not now, but they do it in like February, and I always thought that'd be so awesome to watch. Like going to see a Blackhawks game in Wrigley Field, like you know how crazy that probably is. Like,
but I just want to bring it up because the Panthers are actually pretty good, and there's actually some good teams in our division. Right now, we're tied in first place. We're up there with the Lightning. So I wanted to go to a Lightning game, but we'll have to find another one.
Didn't they win the championship, Tampa Bay last season?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They're tied. They're tied in first for 50 points, and then right behind them with 49 points, I believe is.
Well, we got the Carolina Hurricanes, and then
yes, I think it's the
Predators,
Hurricanes,
Nashville Predators. So they're actually playing pretty good in a pretty tough division. Like they're up there with the best.
Yeah, because this is a shakeup of the divisions too. I think to prepare for the new Seattle team. But the divisions are so they're so tight. Like it's really really competitive. Yeah, Hurricanes are right behind us with 49 points. The Predators are at 39, so it's not close. So
right
top
now,
three teams
for the Panthers to make the playoffs.
Oh, they're pretty much in. They're pretty much in. As long as they keep the road that they're going on. Like I said, they're on a 3-game win streak, and
there's about 15 or 20 games left. So, but they're pretty much expected.
Yeah, and they're playing the Red Wings right now, and the Red Wings are one of the worst teams in the league. And
do you guys know the last time the Panthers made the playoffs or no?
Ooh, 1995 wild card.
No, they made it a couple years ago. It was like 2016 or something like that. I remember being in college. I was in college. It was like my freshman.
I feel like they're always 5 games out of the playoffs.
No, I swear
5 games out.
They were in the playoffs like a few years ago. It's been a minute.
We're gonna see right now. I'm about to fact check.
It was like Yager's last year. It was Yager's last year.
The Florida Panthers last made the playoffs in 2016. So good memory.
Yeah, because I remember Yager kind of had like this came from the grave type of moment, and he's like, he was like 40. Pretty good. He was like 40. Good. Yeah, he was like 42. And obviously, this wasn't prime Yager, but yeah, I mean that was like the last time they made a run there. He was playing decent, and like the team was playing pretty good. They weren't good enough to beat anything. But the thing with hockey, though, man, it's not like basketball or like baseball. It's one of those where it's literally any man's fucking game to win. Like the Kings won the Stanley Cup. The Kings won the Stanley Cup as an 8 seed. Like a bunch of years ago. Like it's one of those 8 seeds beat 1 seeds all the time, which is like in basketball, that's like completely rare.
Yeah. You know what I see though a lot? Obviously, when playoff time comes around, you see highlights, everything like that. A lot of hockey games in the playoffs goes a 7-game series. They go to game 7.
It's really close. It's really, and like I said, you'll see 7 and 2 seeds go to game 7 and like take it to a shootout, and then oh man, I would love to see a shoot. I've only been to one hockey. Well, when I was a kid, we had a minor league team in Jacksonville, and I used to see those a lot, the Jacksonville Barracudas. And they're no longer, they're disbanded, and now it's like a new team, the Jacksonville Icemen, which are actually owned by Tim Tebow.
Wow.
In fact, or part owner by Tim Tebow. But yeah, then I went to one I think it was that season that they went to the playoffs, and I would love to see a shootout, especially if I'm going to. Gabe, would you be down to go to a playoff game? I want to go to a playoff game.
Yeah, we can. I just want to go to a regular game because JoJo's never been, so I want to take him.
I bet you a playoff game would be hype, dude.
We'll see. We're following it. Like I said, they have like 15 or 20 games left. 9 on the end of the season is going to end probably early April. But that's it for hockey. I just want to bring that up real quick. Quick NFL news. NFL going to 17 games. Julian.
Word.
17 games.
Hold on real quick. To me, I don't even know the reasoning behind it. So maybe Julian can elaborate a little bit. I don't know
More
the
money,
process.
another week of income. Football's king, man. Nobody comes close to the amount of revenue NFL puts in, and one more week. A lot of players are not happy about this because it's one of those too. Like when you get to like week 16, man, these players are like dead. So there's a lot of talk of possibility a second bye week.
Yes,
so
that makes sense.
we'll see if that happens. It might happen. But I mean, the players can also blame the NFLPA because I mean that was part of the new CBA rules. So they also there was a lot of things happened too. There was the 17 game season, and then there was something with the refs. I can't remember. Fuck, I hate that my mind's drawing a blank on this. It was something with the reviews. Man, I don't know why I can't remember.
You
this.
will hear at the beginning of the season if you can't.
It's something. It was something. There was one other thing. There was a lot of stuff that they talked about and voted on, but I remember there was something with the refs, and my mind's drawing a blank on it. But yeah, man, I mean, it's just more money. Another week of football.
Jojo, what are your thoughts on 17 games? How do you feel about that?
I mean, aside from the money aspect, I don't see a reason for it. I mean, maybe for fans, right? You know, give us another game for the season. But like Julian said, by week 16, we're ready for playoffs, right? We're already drawn to that. I don't know how that affects, I guess, the standings. Like, is adding another game.
No more 8-8. No more 8-8. It's 7.
And I was going to think that, right? You're going to have the teams either over 500 or under 500 now.
Mm-hmm.
Or they still could be they could tie. They could still ties.
All right, that does happen.
But like you're gonna have 9 and 8. You're gonna have 8 and 9. Yeah, it's gonna be no more 8 and 8. It's gonna be a little weird.
Unless you're 8 and 8 and 1, obviously, which could happen.
So what the 17th game is supposed to be, and I'm curious to see how long they do that. I think the only reason why they did this season was because of the fact they already made your opponents. Because what NFL always says, like right when the season ends, you already know who opponents you're gonna have. The schedule's not out yet. Probably for another month it'll come out.
Is it a non-divisional game or is it?
Yeah, so it's going to be
a conference game or a non-divisional.
It's a cross-divisional game of whatever your equivalent is. So sample AFC South. We're gonna face you face the position of what you placed last year to the equivalent of the NFC version of you. Wow, if that makes sense. So the Jaguars were 4th in the AFC South, so we're gonna face the 4th in the NFC South, which is the Falcons.
So obviously, you don't know when, but they're just throwing that game in there.
That's going to be the 17th game. That's going to be the final game.
Yeah, because the divisional game.
I think they're doing that because I'm sure they're already building the schedules and figuring out TV deals because they just signed the new TV deal like we talked about a couple of weeks ago. So I think they're planning things out. Who's going to have Monday night games, and this was just kind of spurred in. So like I think that's going to be the next game. It depends if that's going to be the last. I think they're going to keep that model, but I don't know if it's going to be the last game every year for foregone future because I think people like having the final game be a division game because a lot of times it really matters. A lot of times that week 16 game or week 17 game
comes down for the playoffs.
It's a playoffs to win the division, especially the trash ass NFC. I mean, look at the Dolphins. The Dolphins had to beat the Bills right there, and it was a divisional game. Or even like
when the Chiefs got in because the Dolphins, I forget what team they beat last week. Because they announced it over the stadium and they show all the Chiefs fans clapping because they locked in there.
Which I really hope that they, after this season, they go back to that because I like the last game being the divisional game because sometimes it really matters. Like, especially in the NFC East where everybody's garbage.
So that's it for football. I mean, we're going to talk about it more, obviously, as the sport goes on, but we're leading up to the NFL draft, which means recently we just had everybody got done with their pro day, football pro days. So, Julian, what did you see on the internet? Because the only thing I saw was Jamar Chase ran a 4.3. That's all I saw today.
Dude, the ESPN, CB, all these motherfuckers, like, you can go online right now and all you're seeing is draft stuff, new mock drafts. Like, it's so funny, like, how big draft culture is. Like, and I love it. I love the draft time. Like, I love projecting. I love looking at film. Like, I love it. So, like, now this is like the time of the year where everybody looks fucking spectacular, like with their pro days and stuff. And I watched Mac Jones Justin Fields, and Zach Wilson, which are 3 of the top 5 prospects that are supposed to be in the first round, top of the first round. And bro, I'll tell you what, man. I watched Zach Wilson throw that fucking ball, and that guy is unreal. Like, he literally reminds me of Aaron Rodgers. Like, he really does. Like, the way he flicks that shit. Like, you ever had, and then he had like this one highlight where design play where he had him run out to the side and he like faded and like threw it across field for like 50 yards. Dude, that guy has a fucking arm, and it just has a super quick release, like super quick. And then I saw the Justin Fields one, and man, Justin Fields, I remember coming into this offseason, and it was Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields. Like that was the thing. Like, everybody's like, Justin Fields is number 2, foregone conclusion. But man, ever since this whole thing has gone, this man's fell down. He was like from 2, then Zach Wilson jumped into to 2, and then he went down to 3, and then Trey Lance went to 4, and now he's like 5. And it's like, damn, the disrespect that this man got. But granted, I'm not the biggest Justin Fields guy. I think he's really inconsistent. He's pretty accurate on the deep ball, but he just ran the second fastest 40 since RG3.
Yep,
or the fastest 40 since RG3, which is the second fastest ever. But it was hand
specifically, or wasn't it for a quarterback specifically?
Yeah, for a quarterback. Yeah,
for a quarterback.
Yeah. I forgot to say that. Yeah, and but I think it was hand time though. So
yeah,
who knows? Like, it's one of those where versus like if that was at the combine, RG3 ran that at the combine. And granted, Kyler Murray didn't run at the combine. Who else didn't run at the combine recently? That was a big pick. I know Kyler Murray was obviously he's hella fast. I'm curious what he would have ran at a 40 time. But yeah, I mean, Justin Fields he's definitely the most athletic out of everybody coming into the draft. But I think what scares a lot of teams, apparently rumors are coming out that he was like the guy who was last one. He was the last one in and the first one out. And a lot of people don't like that. And like, there's just all kinds of shit coming. We'll see what actually happens draft days. I really feel like the 49ers are going to take him at 3. I don't think you move all the way up, and you don't like. And I saw like what's his name, Todd McShay do a mock draft, and they had Mac Jones going 3. I'm like, there's no fucking way that guy's going 3. Like, there's no way. There's no way that guy's going 3.
Some people make these picks to troll and to
dude. These that's the funniest thing with draft season, because like they hate. Like, anytime there's like a foregone conclusion with number 1, which is usually most of the time, especially like last year with Joe Burrow, this year with Trevor Lawrence, it's like one of those where they just like, fuck, like we don't know what to talk about. And now that Zach Wilson's almost locked into the Jets, like he's almost guaranteed to go there. Now it's like, shit, we're having less stuff to see. So like, fuck it, put Mac Jones at 3. Like, there's no way Justin Fields should be picking in the, like he's a good guy. I personally wouldn't want to draft him personally. But I don't think he's that bad. I think he's just inconsistent. He reminds me of a Cam Newton. Like, he reminds me of Cam Newton. Like, literally. Like, that's the way I would
did you see anything, any players that kind of sparked your interest, or anything that you saw? Any players that are moving up on the boards? Or nah? Because I didn't really see much of it. Like, I just saw Jamar Chase run. I'm like, okay. And then I heard everybody's running 4.4s.
Kyle Pitts is shooting up.
People like Kyle Pitts.
Where's he play at?
Florida.
Pitt?
Tight end.
Florida. So that's it for NCAA football. Obviously, we'll cover it more as we come to the
NFL,
draft.
man.
I mean, NCAA is. I want to get to the net. I'm trying to see this as a transition. See, I'm a professional.
Well, what's that?
We talk about
a backwards
college football
transition.
players. Let's talk about basketball football players. NCAA tournament, March Madness still going on. Final 4. We got 4 teams. Baylor facing Houston. UCLA facing Gonzaga. I picked Gonzaga because I know they're a basketball team and they're historically pretty good.
I just want to start off
players, but I picked them.
Listen, I just want to start off by saying I only got one team right going into that Final 4, and that was Gonzaga. RIP to my bracket. I was looking at it, and the accuracy on it was let's see the accuracy of my bracket, guys. Let's see this sad percentage.
I can't believe Michigan lost. Michigan was my pick. I
got a 26% accuracy in my bracket, and in my Final 4, I had Gonzaga going against UConn. Obviously, I was going for UConn to go all the way. I had North Carolina. We know what happened. North
You were
Carolina.
destined to lose that bracket.
Listen, I had North Carolina going to Final Four. They lost in the first round as well, just like UConn. So I had 2 teams losing the first round.
Never picked this man as the NCAA basketball picks.
Then I had Illinois, which they lost to Loyola. So they got Gonzaga, UCLA, Baylor, Houston. Oh man,
I can't believe
that's a realistic pick, but don't sleep on that UCLA team.
I can't believe they lost to Michigan. I can't believe they lost to Michigan, man. That's
honestly,
wild.
I think it's gonna be the Zags versus Baylor.
Zags the favorite. Yeah, it's gonna be those two, and I think Zags gonna win it. They've just
Zags.
been dominant, man. Nobody's even came.
Oh, they're undefeated.
They've just been dominant. Like, there's no way they lose. There's no way.
I mean, you never know in the tournament. That's all I gotta say.
Imagine if Oral Roberts made it.
Oh, listen, Baylor's also number 1 seed, so
Oral Roberts upset a whole bunch of teams. So that's going on this Saturday. We're gonna watch it. You're gonna watch it. Where are you gonna watch it, JoJo? Are you gonna be at home or are you working?
Sometime the time I get off work, I'll try to watch the game, of course.
If you wanna meet up, I'll meet you up somewhere. If you wanna meet.
When is the game?
Saturday.
4:00. Yeah, 4:00 and 7:00. It's 2 games. Houston Baylor first at 4. UCLA Gonzaga at 7.
I'll watch it with you.
I think the more exciting game is going to be the Baylor Houston one because that's the 1 and the 2.
Yeah.
Going with each other, so
I think UCLA is going to get smoked by Gonzaga.
Hey,
Gonzaga's done nothing but smoke people. Like,
listen, I hate seeing blowouts, especially in the tournament and in the Final Four. You don't want to see a blowout. So I hope UCLA, they're there for a reason. I hope they actually put up a good fight.
UCLA, I think, is the last 11th seed to get to the Final Four was, I believe it was VCU in 2011.
It was.
So we shall see. This Saturday, we'll bring you updated news from the tournament. Go Gonzaga. My bracket's doing pretty good because I picked Gonzaga last week and they won.
Go UConn.
They win again. Be 100% on my bracket.
Let's go UConn. Win the Final Four. They're going to take it. Let's go.
I wanted to bring up just real quick, also basketball. Roy Williams retires. Julian wanted to bring this up because that's his team. Couldn't make the tournament.
How do you feel, Julian? Yeah. 33 seasons, 3 titles.
18 seasons with Carolina.
Well, 33 coaching.
Where did he coach beforehand? Shit, I don't remember. What doesn't matter. Yeah, man, it sucks. It's gonna be weird seeing somebody else over there. I mean, that guy's a legend. Like, I remember, like, the team that got me into being a UNC fan was the 05 season, and when they won the championship. And then as a kid, I mean, I didn't really know much about players, but the time I remembered like players, and probably one of the most dominant North Carolina teams ever was the 09 championship team. I mean, bro, that team was stacked. I mean, you had Ty Lawson. You had Tyler Hansborough, which he was a really good college basketball player. Danny Green. And then you had, what was that dude's name? I have the roster here. Wayne Ellington. Like, that team was good, man.
Ellington.
Yeah, he coached for Kansas the year before he went to North Carolina.
Yeah, Kansas. That's what it was. Yep, I remember that. Man, Tyler Zeller. I remember him. Like, wow. Yeah, like that team, like that 08, 09 seasons was so good. 09 was the last one because Tyler Hansborough was a senior, Danny Green was a senior, and then Ty Lawson and Wayne Ellington were juniors, but they went on to go to the draft. And man, that I remember that season being like, we're winning this. Like, there's no way. Like, they're just so good. And then their last championship in 2017. And yeah, man, it sucks. I mean, we'll see. I'm sure we can find some up and coming guy who's won well. Apparently, a lot of people are talking about this guy from North Carolina Central or something like that. Apparently, he has a super good win percentage and he's been doing really well. But I'm curious to see who it is. I mean, maybe we do need a fresh face in there because the past few years, I mean, they've just been lackluster and they haven't been that great. Like, they've been making it to the tournaments, but they weren't the perennial powerhouse that they were in the early 2010s and the late 2000s. Like, they were just
the last real notable player you had was Anthony Cole coming out of there, who got drafted to Orlando, I believe. If I'm not
he has a pretty I'm looking
But
at
yeah,
career stats: 77% winning, 9 Final Fours, 3 NCAA championships. Very storied, very high profile coach
yeah,
in
you
I
the
can't
don't.
forget about his
in
dance.
the game.
I kind of expected to. I think I just saw he's 70, and like the Carolina looks like they're kind of in a rebuilding phase, and it's like I think it's time to somebody else to come in and like do what they got to do, turn this program around. But it's I mean, this guy, he's responsible for 3 of the 5 championships Carolina has. So I'm excited to see what's next. Hopefully they could turn it around next year before
All
the
right.
G League takes over NCAA.
All we're
Hopefully
recruiting, man.
I say hopefully they can do something for the G League takes over the NCAA.
This guy. That's not gonna happen right away.
Not right away, but I'm just saying by the time hopefully they turn it out before then.
All right. And lastly, as we end tonight, we're going to end our surprise topic. Last week I brought a surprise topic to the floor. Julian's got a surprise topic this
All
week.
right.
He said it relates to something that we talked about earlier. I don't know about it, so we're just going to hear about it.
All right. So it's opening day. It's baseball. So here's my surprise topic. And I thought it because of it being opening day and everything. So one of the big historic sports debates that go on for baseball and probably go on for a very long time is, do steroid users deserve to be into the Hall of Fame? Should they be renounced, or should they even get in the first place? What do you guys think?
I'll start with this one.
Yeah, you go.
All right, so I feel like, all right, good question. It's a kind of a broad question, though, right? Because I personally feel like obviously it's unfair.
Or should they have their records like Barry Bonds completely like gone?
Here's the thing with that, right? You can look at it 2 ways. It's sometimes it's not always cut and dry for when you find out they're using the steroids. So because they got caught, that doesn't mean that's the season they started using it, right? So they could have been great the last 5 years, never got caught. And you can't say like a guy like Barry Bonds, for example, he was great, right? He started season his career great. And then towards, whatever the middle towards the end of his career, he started using the steroids. So that definitely plays a factor in. But I don't think they should be considered. I really don't.
Wow.
For steroids, I believe it's not fair. It's definitely giving yourself an advantage. And things with records and numbers, those don't lie, right? But to play the game genuinely, doing things the right way, believing in hard work, discipline, that's how you make the Hall of Fame. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't think it's fair, obviously, to anyone else, playing the game.
Wow, I'm glad JoJo went that way, because I'm gonna go the other way.
Are you okay? Well, real quick are you okay with Mark McGwire's single season home run record being erased, or Barry Bonds' home run record, all-time home run record being erased?
Right. And that's where it gets tricky, because like I said, the time they played. So if you played 20 seasons,
I think it was confirmed that year that Mark
it might have been those last 5 seasons that he might have been using it. So it's kind of hard to tell. But if you, for a single season, let's say record,
because I think Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire both beat the record, but Mark McGwire was ahead of Sammy Sosa. I believe that was the case. So I think they both beat it, the previous one.
All right, so I'm gonna swing the exact opposite way. I'm glad JoJo went first, because I used to be, kind of anti whatever drug or whatever. But as I got older, I feel like, these guys who do performance enhancing steroids, whatever, right? Their job is performance. So to enhance their performance is not like that's their living. Like, that's what they do. If I could give you a pill, JoJo, that'll make you the best Nike employee, the number one, always on time.
Oh, he would
fast,
do it.
You work, eat your lunch efficiently, leave work on time, be the best employee. Would you take that pill? It could be anything. Jillian, you have a partner. If I gave you a pill that, look, this pill is going to make you the best boyfriend. You're going to be so attentive. You're going to listen to your girl all the time. She's going to love you so much.
You don't have to lie to me about that. You can tell me what exactly it is. Am I going to get fucking yoked? Yes, I'll take it.
If I offered you that pill, would you take it, right? So when it comes to, their job being performance and performance enhancing, that's kind of their job. That's like how they make money. So and I'm actually for letting guys who have PD whatever use or whatever,
All right,
because
let me.
a lot of times especially now we are talking about earlier is a lot of times people get in trouble for just having like diuretics, which diuretics just make you pee more, put more water in your urine. So they say, oh, you're putting more water in your urine, you're covering up something, you're using drugs, and they'll say PED. They just throw the label PED, and it might not be technically a steroid or whatever. It's just I have extra water in my urine, and I think that's bullshit.
I will say this. Like
Wow.
I'm kind of okay, and I think that I think MMA allows this, or UFC, I should say. I'm okay with older players using of some sort of small amount of HGH to keep you going. I think if you're using full on steroids, it's hard. I mean, to be honest, I think it was a reason why that time in baseball history was like one of the most exciting and one of the most best times to watch baseball was probably because of steroids. It's probably one
All
of the
right,
reasons why
here's the
baseball
thing,
did
dude.
so well.
Here's the thing, right? You might approve. You're giving all these examples, right? But in our everyday lives, we don't have those rules. So if you give me a pill or Julian a pill to be the best we can be, we're not going against morals and ethics, right? So you sign your contract in your professional league, right? And you're breaking the rules. So why do you deserve to be in the Hall of Fame if you didn't play fair? Now, if
Okay.
they allowed it and you took it, that just comes down to morals and
Yeah,
ethics. If it was allowed, not saying that everyone has to do it, but you sign your
yeah.
contract stating you will not do this and you do it to give yourself an advantage over everyone else. Do you think that's fair? Knowing
Well,
that you signed and you're not allowed.
real
So
quick,
I think
because
from that, okay, well, I was gonna say just to rebuttal from that argument, yes, okay, there was rules, he broke the rules, okay, but my thing is maybe in general, to me, my argument would be baseball should be a lot softer on drugs and performance enhancing because these guys, like I said, they get paid to play. If they're not playing, if they're on the field because they're
Okay.
hurt, because they tore their MCL, they tore their, they're doing Tommy
And
John
that's good
surgery,
because look,
and
that brings up a totally different topic, right?
yeah,
In situations like that, maybe MLB, NFL, NBA should be more lenient towards these things in certain situations, which that's a totally different debate, which I can see happening. You know what I mean? Whether you're injured or you're getting older or whatever the case is, I can see that happening. But that's not the debate
all
right
right.
now.
So here's my thing, and I'm kind of on Gabe's side with this. Is I think you should be allowed because this idea that there was only a handful of guys that were doing it is just not true. It was the norm. And I was watching like clips of this documentary. It was the same guys who made Cocaine Cowboys, and they talk about the usage, and it was normal. I mean, there was people like pitchers. I mean, look at the Roger Clemens during
yeah,
the day, all that. Like they would apparently they would put it in gum. Like you would chew the gum, and then it would disperse and get into your system. And this I like yeah, they were on shit, but they were also going against people who were also on it. It's just the big names were the
Yeah,
ones that got caught. But
to
how
keep
many
it,
people were
to keep it
truly doing
competitive.
it? And at that time, it was kind of like the peak of not even just baseball steroids, but it was kind of the peak in the steroid culture in general. It was just
Yeah.
baseball at the time it was
And
the
look,
second largest
Julian, not to
sport.
cut you off, but you bring up a good point because Shannon Sharp had an interview with Ken Griffey Jr. and they got deep into that, and he was kind of asking why Ken, like, how come? Oh, what made you not get into that? Follow the wrong path and just be genuine and be you and work hard, even though people around you were doing that, and you didn't get caught up in it. But that's where it comes down to morals, whether you believe, hey, I need to take this to keep over that guy, or I'm just gonna try to work twice as hard and do what I gotta do. Which I'm not saying it's easy. That's where morals come in. You know
but
what I mean?
here's my
But
rebuttal.
and
to that.
also too, like if you're talking about the Hall of Fame, I think it's in the Hall of Fame's best interest to bring in some of the biggest names that ever came to baseball.
Yeah. Well,
And
here's my thing. Here's my thing with the Hall of Fame because it seems like this big thing, this cathedral in the sky. What is sports but fucking entertainment? For me as a fan, sports is entertainment for me. Like this is my way to blow off steam, have some fun, get something to root for. So it's for me, it's entertainment, but for the guys who actually do it, it's a fucking job, and this is how they get food on their family. This is how they support the family and bring their families out of poverty. So, and what is the Hall of Fame if not to celebrate the greats in sports, right? Isn't that what the whole point of the Hall of Fame is? Or is this like some kind of record that we're keeping? Like, no, like this is entertainment. The Hall of Fame is where you go to celebrate, celebrate people who perform, who perform your sport well. And that's where
okay, real quick, since we're talking cheating, because that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
That Houston Astros team, they shouldn't be punished because they were entertaining and won a championship, but they cheated.
They should absolutely be punished. And you already know where I stand. I hate the
players who cheat using steroids. Should they be punished and not making the Hall of Fame? It's a punishment.
They should be, right? Their record, when we look on that record or that year, there should be people shouldn't put that much respect on that year.
But it's also, you're talking about an individual effort versus a whole team, a whole organizational effort that went together and it affected win-loss.
It doesn't matter.
Way more so.
We're talking about cheating. If you are a player that takes steroids and PEDs, you cheated. It could have been by yourself. It could have been as a whole organization. One doesn't make the other better. The argument's not valid there. Now, all right. So another argument, right? So maybe not making the Hall of Fame is too rough. Maybe that's too extreme, right? For someone as great as Barry Bonds, what would be a punishment for it then? Or maybe it's too late because he already retired.
There's nothing you can do. To me, there's nothing you can do.
This is punishment enough. Now letting him in is his punishment. This is the public shame he gets for being great because we know his numbers. Nobody can touch his numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
So
do you think that's too much?
This is his shame. This is the social.
I think that's it. Like what can them like? What are you gonna do? He's already over. His career's over. He's already broke the records.
He made his money. He retired. He coached for a little bit.
And at the end of the day, you can't. Okay, yeah, maybe he was on stuff, but he still did it. Like you can't. I can be on all the PEDs in the world. I still can't hit 700 home runs. Yeah. And I think that's something. That's a good argument too, right? And I have heard that. And I have heard that there is like that. It doesn't just help your strength; it also helps your hand-eye coordination and being able to see the ball better and like kind of slow things down, which might play a factor. But I still think there's something to that. You still got to have that talent that, sure, maybe it boosted you, but there was still something in Sammy Sosa. There's still something in Mark McGwire, something in Barry Bonds that Jose Canseco.
And again, the argument is taking away how great they were. We know they were great. So if they were so great, why did they need to do what they needed to do?
I think also too, but being in a world, like I said, surrounded by everybody else doing it for them, and then you're and then being able to do it, like
they say, here's a quote.
Every athlete has an ego, and you want to be the best. And if everybody else is doing this thing and you're lacking behind, I mean, it's just
here's a quote I hear about baseball, especially. I hear other sports, but I hear about baseball especially. The hardest thing is not getting to the league. The hardest thing for players is staying in the league.
And that's any sport.
As you get older, if you're a good player, if you're Albert Pujols, you're whatever, you're Robinson Cano, you're Derek Jeter. You get older, but guess what? The competition, they stay the same age. They're 18, 19, 20 years old. So you're turning 39, 40, 41. They're still 18, 19, 21.
And I really think they should really be more lenient on people recovering and certain things. Because especially something like football, for example, because they're very strict about it. I mean, those guys are getting pounded, or even hockey. Like, those guys are getting pounded left and
especially
right.
with baseball with 162 games.
I have a different take on this now, right? So you guys kind of open up. And I'm still against it, right? I'm still against it. Now,
cheating is cheating.
And I agree with you on that. I do agree with you.
But I do believe, right? If you served your punishment, then it shouldn't affect you later, right? So if you got caught, and let's say they suspend you for the season, right? That's your punishment, and you don't do it again for the rest of your career, and you're still a great player. You deserve to have the right if you face your punishment while getting caught in the season, right? It's like serving, regular jail time, your sentence.
If you believe in forgiveness,
so as a Yankee fan,
consequence, go ahead.
Yeah, I would say, as a Yankee fan, do you still look at A-Rod as one of the best, greatest Yankees to ever play?
Yes, 100%.
But that doesn't affect the way that he did all the PEDs and everything.
Yeah, and that's the point I was getting to, because that's exactly what I thought of, right? So he got caught, and then he served his punishment. Did he do it again after? I don't believe so. I think he
Nah, I think he was
done.
done.
He was done.
He was at the end of his career.
like
It was in his career.
after that, I think it was just 2 after that.
And look at
Now,
that.
if they
And you're under a
investigated-
microscope when you're a guy, like especially now in the MLB, if you're performing, like you don't think they're checking the fuck out of Giancarlo and Aaron Judge
my
and
thing, right? So the thing is, like, I feel like, if you get caught that season doing it, can they investigate how many times you've done it in the past, or can they kind of?
They
No,
know
there's
that
no
because
way.
they test them. So they have the records of all the tests. They test randomly. Because I think Big Poppy came out. He's like, "Oh, they test me 6 times in 1 week," and like, it's like, yeah, because you probably test positive. You try to test positive for some shit. But
he's one
going
of
back
those
to
that's never been caught.
Yeah.
Who
Going
knows?
back to Jordan-
He might have did some shit.
Yeah, just back to my point. If you served your time and your punishment for whatever it was, and if it was a fair punishment, then maybe you never went back to it. You deserve a chance into the Hall of Fame.
So going back to something we talked about earlier, John Bones Jones. How many times did he test positive after a fight? How many times?
But he's not test positive for like all kinds of shit too, like cocaine.
But in his past, he has. After winning championship, and everyone's like, "Oh, he's the best. He's the best." We still call him the best. But how many times did he get? He came out in the news. He tested positive.
There was nothing significant though. There was nothing they found because the stuff they found on him, they were so small of trace that they're showing that they're proved that nothing. It couldn't have helped them.
That's what I'm saying.
But my thing is too.
I'm pro drugs. Even if you have a little bit, I'm pro drugs.
What about like Roger? Well, let's look at it from the other perspective too. Not even just hitters, but like Roger Clemens and other pitchers. Like, what about pitchers? Like throwing heaters, like triple-digit heaters, like over the plate.
Especially now when everybody's throwing 100 miles an hour, fucking, you get hit in the head, bro. You're done for. Everybody has.
Like, does that affect Roger Clemens as one of the best pitchers?
It's not fair that they're doing these things. Like, it's just not fair.
But I also think though, pitching is one of those things. Though it's like you're not. There's a lot of technique to that, and being able to do it. It's more than just throwing it fast.
Of course.
And I think Roger Clemens should still go to the Hall of Fame, or is he in it already? I don't know if he's in or not. But like,
I don't think so.
But like, to me, it's like, especially something like pitchers, like, yeah, he's throwing it way harder probably, but like, there still takes that technique to pitching, like throwing curveballs and sliders and changeups, like on a regular basis.
Everything, pitch selection, it's a lot into it, obviously. But
and obviously, and here's another thing I want to wrap up.
My question to you, right? So, you guys, I just want to know your stance. Should there be any punishment for people who take any PEDs or any illegal substance to give them
current players?
I say,
for retired players.
Like, so the question is like, people, should they be allowed into the Hall of Fame? And you're saying, you're asking us if like,
what's an alternative punishment for those who are already retired aside from the Hall of Fame, if there could be one? Because is it Hall of Fame or nothing? Or like,
to me, I think there's nothing you can do. The time has passed. These guys don't work for the MLB. And to me, you have to put them in there. If you want to put an asterisk, then put one if you want. But like, to me, it's in the MLB's best interest to put some of your biggest stars in history in the Hall of Fame. And if you want to put a little fucking star by them to say like
the mark of
shame,
you should have a mark of shame there. Like, you got here, but
I mean, to me, I don't see how the MLB benefits for not putting them in.
I mean, they won't.
So,
you know what I mean?
Here's the thing.
It's about the integrity, because then you got the real fans who are going to question the integrity of the game.
And to me, there were still talented players. To me, it's like, yeah, you're on something. But like we said, a lot of people are on it, and they were able to excel over everybody else. And there is a level of talent.
For hours. Yeah, my take is, man, if they did their time and they got suspended and never follow suit again on that, that's fair. You know what I mean? But if it was continuous throughout their season, continue getting caught, still doing it, one of the top grades, was it really you? Or was it?
Well, how much a percentage do you think it's really helping you? Like,
I don't know. I never taken it.
But no, I'm saying do you think Mark McGwire or all these guys would still be home run hitters?
maybe that little extra juice could turn fly balls into home runs. Once you make your contact, the ball could just 400, 500 feet.
Mark Aguirre was a fucking tank, dude. His forearms were the size of my thighs. Like,
and how would he get that big with, you know what I mean? Naturally, maybe he couldn't. Maybe his body wouldn't allow him to.
I will also say, I think Mark Aguirre is a pretty big guy in general.
It's not strength either. What about if you had an injury that maybe would have been out 8 weeks, but you took this drug that makes you heal faster, and now you're out 4 weeks? That means you can be on the field. It means you can get more stats, more home runs, more whatever. You know what I mean? More strikeouts or whatever. So that's also plays into. So I'm not just worried about strength, but also recovery. But like I said, I'm pro drugs. I feel like all the leagues should be softer on drugs.
I think they should be softer, but I think you still have to draw a line at some point. I think, like, obviously, like.
Man, I don't want any to see I don't need any.
Like, if you're really coming from an injury, maybe some safe dosages of HGH or something, or they really should allow little bit, because I want to say, I don't know if the UFC does anymore. Because, like, for example, I don't know if you guys heard of the fighter Vitor Belfort. Vitor Belfort was a monster when he was younger. Then he fell off, and then all of a sudden, like, people say, like, post HGH or HGH Vitor Belfort, they're like, holy shit, like, this guy's like a beast again. But yeah.
So this is gonna wrap it up. That's it for this week. Real Fans Podcast, all the things: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, MySpace, IG. Appreciate y'all for coming out tonight. Listen to our long ass podcast. We'll be here next week. More news, all the sports, all the things. Peace.